great day. Today I thought I would do a little bit more in the air dry clay department. So I got my paper clay and I found this old giraffe that I did. This poor little guy's been through the ringer. One of his legs is about to fall off. It wiggles and he fell off a shelf when my daughter was vacuuming and it knocked off his ears and little antlers. But this is the only one I have left from the mini that I've made out of the air dry clay. So I thought, I love doing these and I thought this would be a good time to do a tutorial on the air dry clay giraffe. Okay, so just like with the other project that we did on Snoop Dogg, I like to use paper clay. It's actually, the brand is called Creative Paper Clay, and I have it locked up tight because I didn't want it to dry out, but it's called Creative Paper Clay. I just love it. I always find it at Hobby Lobby. Michael's usually has it, and you can get it on Amazon. It's about $9.99, and you can get a lot out of one package, especially if you're doing small projects like this little puppy. So what we're gonna need is this clay, and then I like to use these little styrofoam forms for the body. So we need one of these little egg-shaped styrofoam forms. Let me open this and get him out. So that's going to be the form for his body that we start with. And then I use chopsticks for the legs. And so what I do is I break these apart, and each one of these is going to be a leg for the giraffe. We'll have to cut them down a little bit. So all we're going to do for this first part is just create the form and get it ready to start adding the clay and sculpting all of the features. So let's get ready and let's get to it. All right, so I have the camera focused on this area where we're going to be working, and I just wanted to point out that we're also going to need a little bit of water to keep the clay moist. It dries out very quickly. So I like to keep a little container of water to dip my fingers into to keep the clay moist. I also like to use paint brushes and these little sculpting tools. And you can get a package of these sculpting tools at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, Michael's, one of those craft places. Very inexpensive and very easy to use. So keep those on standby for when we need those. Okay, well, let's get started. The very first thing I do is I cut down the styrofoam form just a little bit because, as you can see, this is quite a bit bigger than the body that I'm wanting for this particular giraffe. Now, if you are a youngster, you want to make sure your parents are kind of supervising. We don't want you to cut yourself, so be very careful with the knife, or have your parents do this part. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep with the shape of the egg form and just kind of shave around different areas to make it a little bit smaller. And so the one thing about this is you definitely, I think I said this in the last video, the one I did on the little Snoopy, is you definitely want to clean up all these crumbs and make sure that it doesn't get in your clay, because it's very gritty and it just kind of makes your project not so smooth. I have that pretty much the size that I want it. I'm just going to take a brush and kind of brush it down. Probably need a bigger brush, but just get those crumbs off. That feels pretty good. Now I'm going to take all this and throw it away real quick because I don't want it in my work area, those crumbs. And it also gets on your hands, so I want to make sure we get rid of all that mess. All right, so I have my little egg shape. I'm gonna dust it off a little more. Oops, still some more crumbs. We don't want that. All right, so now there we have our little egg shape. Let me turn on a light here to maybe help the light. And so what I do is I grab off some of it. Nice little ball of it. And then we wrap this back up, put it aside. And then we're just going to kind of work with this a little bit, kind of knead it a little bit and get it kind of soft and pliable so we can mess with it. I see crumbs. All right, so now what we're going to do is kind of smooth it down, thin it out like this with your thumbs, your hands, just kind of flatten it out. Or you could use, if you wanted, you could use a rolling pin. I have one sitting here, but I don't think I need it. I'm just going to use my hands. So you want it to be pretty smooth all the way around. And so then just apply it to the egg shape and then just start smoothing it out. Now, as you do this, you're going to see the clay is really already trying to dry a little bit. Today it's kind of dreary and cold and rainy, and sometimes I find that the weather affects how quickly the clay dries. So if you find that it takes a little bit longer than 24 hours for your project to dry, it could have something to do with the humidity and the temperature and things like that. So don't worry, just give it more time and it will eventually dry. So you see how I have all this clay, it's clumped up over here. I'm just going to keep pushing it until I get to an area where I have some excess, and then I'll just tear off that excess and then keep working with what I have, flattening it. Maybe put a little water on your hands and just keep going around and flattening it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just depends on you and how you like your texture on your giraffe to be. I like it to be smooth because like on this one, I really enjoyed putting polka dots on it and making a weird funky design on the legs. So I made sure that it was pretty smooth to make it easier to paint. But I was thinking today you could actually apply some kind of texture to it if you wanted to by pressing something with a texture up against it. Like say maybe a screen, a piece of a screen. Oh, there's a piece of glitter. Or different things like that. So this is one of those things that you just keep working with until you feel like you're satisfied with how it looks. And sometimes I overwork it and just can't seem to get happy with how it looks, but for this purpose, I think it's going okay. And these are fun little things to give to others as gifts, these little figurines. You know, it's really nice to get a personalized gift like that. That's something that you made special for someone in your life. I've made a few of these for different people. And one of them I made for a manager of mine in the past, and I put on there, I think I put a little message in the box that said, "Thanks for always sticking your neck out for me." Little play on words since it's a giraffe. I did one that was an elephant once, and I said, "Never forget that I love you," for a friend of mine. Just stuff like that. Okay. So the main thing is you want to make sure it's flat against that form and that you're satisfied with the smoothness. Now we're going to keep messing with this because as we are applying the legs and the neck and things like that, we're going to probably, you know, make some imprints on the body that we'll have to kind of smooth out later. But here's your body. So that's what we're starting with, a body shape form for the giraffe. And now I think I'll go ahead and start with the legs. So the way I do the legs is you want to have some Elmer's glue. I've always used this clear glue, or you can use the white glue. It doesn't matter because when we paint, we're going to paint over anything that might show up. Let me get this little waist part here and put it up so it doesn't dry out. That's probably going to be his little head or something. Maybe his ears. All right. Oh, got some crumbs. Always want to keep that cleaned up so it doesn't change the texture of your form there. All right, so here is how I do the little chopsticks to make legs. So first of all, I pull the chopsticks apart. You may want to have your parents help with this because sometimes pieces of it fly off, but I just break them off like that. And then I decide how long I want them, and I usually just put them up against the last one that I did, and I just kind of figure about right here. So you just want to figure out how long you want them and then break them off at that point. So I use pliers and I just break them off. This is going to be the part we stick into the form, and so it's not going to show. So don't worry too much about that. And again, this might be a part that you want your parents to help you with if you're a small child or young child doing this. Don't want you poking yourself or anything. So we need 4 because a giraffe has 4 legs, right? And I want to make sure these are the same as the others. So again, we're just going to take these little pliers. You can also use a good pair of scissors, a good strong pair of scissors, or maybe even wire cutters. And you can use a lot of other things for the legs. You could use, I guess you could use a stick from outside. You just want them all to be about the same. What else? Think about some other things that you could use to make the legs. Bet you there's all kinds of things. Now, looks like I'm a little bit off. Some of them are longer than the others. But we'll work through this as we place it in the body form and try to make this thing stand. So that's always a challenge. All right, so what I do is I kind of figure what is the body and how does the body of this giraffe, where do I want it all to be? And so in my mind, when I look at it from my side over here, it feels like these longer sides would be, of course, the sides of the giraffe, and these shorter sides would be the back and the front. So this is the front and this is the back. So I'm going to start by making a hole with one of these sticks for the first leg. So by just poking this inside that styrofoam, just like that, you can feel it kind of budge. So we're going to stick it in there and make that hole. Now we're going to have to put glue on that here in a few minutes, but right now I'm just kind of placing all of them where I think they need to go. So now we're going to put one directly beside that for the other back leg. You want to kind of make sure that they're the same length or the same amount sticking out from the holes there. Now we're going to do the front. See, remember this is the back and this is going to be the front. So I feel like right here will work. And then let's see if this will work. Sometimes I get it completely wrong and I can't get the thing to stand up and I have to change it, but I think that's going to work. So I've got all my holes put inside here. So what I'm going to do is take each one of them out, put a little glue in there, and then stick this Chinese chopstick back in there. Hope we got some kind of, you might hear my TV in the background. My husband's watching TV downstairs. All right. This is fun. I love working with clay. It's very soothing, especially on days like this. It's too chilly to get outside, so we might as well create something, right? And I love animals, so I think that's why I always create animals, figures like this with the clay, because I love animals. They make me happy. So once you get those all glued in, then you want to kind of press that clay up around that area and make it tighter. So that's going to have to dry. So here's what we have so far. Okay. So I don't really like the front legs, how I did them. So I'm actually going to bring this one, I'm going to stab it in a little bit closer. Oh, that doesn't look good at all. Let's see. I think it's this one that doesn't look right. Okay, so I'm gonna have to work with the front ones again. I think I made them too far apart. I think that's gonna be better. Okay, I like that a lot better. So now I need to re-glue those. So see what I mean? Sometimes you're going to get it and you're going to be like, that doesn't quite look right. And then again, press that clay around it. Something about the physics of trying to make the thing stand properly is a little bit challenging for me. It's probably supposed to be very exact measurements, but I'm not very exact about things. Okay, so I'm comfortable with where that is now, and I'm going to leave that alone, okay? So now we have the giraffe's body and the legs, and that's going to have to dry. I'm going to put a little more glue here since I messed with it. Now I'm going to smooth the body out a little bit more. It's kind of drying out, and I want to get rid of some of these little marks that I've created from working with it. See how I do that? I just kind of go around in circles with a little bit of water on my fingers. I think I need to go get my glasses so I can see this better. See, there's a little crumb right there from the styrofoam, so I'm going to get that off. Okay, so for right now, this will do. Can't get that top part. Come on. And keep in mind that if we don't get it as smooth as we want it before it dries, we can sand things down once it dries. So we can use a fine sanding paper and sand down the rough edges. All right, so now that we have the legs and the body, now what do we need to add? I think we need to go ahead and give it a neck. So the neck I also do with the chopsticks. So I'm still not liking these legs. Okay, so I need to stop messing with that. All right, so the neck, you'll notice on this one, the neck is about to right here. So that's probably about 3.5, 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and break that off at the place where I want it. And I'm going to stick that in here in the middle of the front. So right here. And we want it kind of facing up. Elephants. Giraffes are always looking up at the trees to try to eat the leaves. And so we want it to look like a real giraffe. So I'm going to put the glue in that area that we just poked in. And And then tighten that clay around that area. I bet I've made 6 or 7 of these giraffes. I'm giving them away. I love doing them. I don't know why. I love giraffes. They're very beautiful to look at and very elegant with their long legs and long necks. All right, so the neck, what I'm going to do, just like later when we do the legs, we're going to cover that with clay. Okay, so now we're going to stop and we're going to let all of this dry. And then tomorrow, hopefully it's dry, we'll start working on the legs and the neck and the head and the ears and the little antlers. I guess that's what you call them, the little things that stick up on top of their head. All right, so I'll give you one more look at it and then we'll come back in a day or two and start finishing the rest. All right, so we have the first part of the giraffe ready to go. We created the body and we glued in the little chopsticks that we use to make the legs and the neck. And tomorrow, hopefully if it's dry enough, we're gonna start working on adding clay to the neck and the legs, and then adding the head and the ears and the little antler things, and let that dry out. And as soon as all of that is done, we're gonna start painting it. All right, so thanks for joining me. Hope you'll come back for the next one. Step 2 of the air dry paper clay giraffe. Bye.